Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. And as some of you already know, Fortnite Chapter 4 has been out for a decent amount of time now, and with it brought a lot of new and insane weapons. However, there's also a few different weapons that are actually very secretive and very hidden. And this video is going to talk about some of them. So these are 6 secret weapons that are within Chapter 4 Season 1 of Fortnite. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is actually a golden tack AR and combat shotgun if you want to include that. But obviously, with this season, there have been things called augments added to the game. And with augments come a lot of different changes. And if you guys don't know what augments are, they're basically like these perks that you can get in game and that can give you better chances at winning. Now, there is an augment called Tactical Armory. Now, if you guys don't know what Tactical Armory is, essentially, it allows you to have the ability to get a combat AR, not a combat AR, a tac AR, and a combat shotgun. Now, this is the only way to get these two weapons. That's why this perk is insane, and it's why it's one of the better perks this season. However, something you guys may have not known is that you can actually upgrade the combat shotgun and the tac AR to a golden rarity. Now, with the Tactical Armory perk, it only gives you a blue tactical AR and a combat shotgun. However, if you go to an upgrade station, you can use some of your gold to upgrade both of these weapons to a golden rarity. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of difference does that make? Well, for starters, the combat shotgun, it makes a pretty decent difference. The combat shotgun normally does a decent amount of damage, and it has pretty decent range for a shotgun. Now, I know they recently added the heavy, which we're going to talk about in a second. Well, not in a second, maybe like in a few minutes. But the combat shotgun has decent range, and on top of that, it also allows you to have a pretty decent fire rate with a shotgun. Now, it does around 70 to 80 damage depending. However, if you upgrade this to gold, it's going to do a bit more damage, and it's also going to have, I think, a quicker reload time. I don't remember exactly. So, yes, it is definitely worth it. Now, the change isn't as big for the combat shotgun, because you could have a blue combat shotgun, you could be putting out some decent damage anyway, so you may not even have to upgrade that to gold. However, the golden tac AR is really what makes the deal here. Normally, the tac AR would come in blue rarity from the perk itself. And as you can see here in this clip, I actually managed to upgrade my tac AR. I don't upgrade my combat just because I did want to save my gold here, but I'm able to upgrade my tac AR to a golden rarity. Now, if we skip a little bit ahead here, a little bit ahead into the match, you won't see me moving the video, but you can see that the tac AR actually has a red eye scope on it, meaning you can scope in with this weapon. Now, it's not very evident here. However, in a few seconds, you're about to see me get a beam with this. In a few seconds. Now, normally, the blue one, I think, does... There it is. There's the beam right there. And normally, I think the blue one does 15 damage. This one does 19. On top of this, it only requires small ammo, which, if you pair with another perk called Light Fingers, which allows you to reload weapons that have small light ammo faster, you can pretty much make this gun an insane weapon to use. Considering the fact that it is now gold, it's got a red eye scope, it has an insane fire rate, and the fact that it's doing 20 damage, plus you can reload it pretty quickly if you have light fingers, this makes this weapon really OP. So, blue combat shotgun to golden one, I could see you making that upgrade. It's definitely helps. However, the golden tac AR is what really shines here, and that's why I would recommend, whenever you get this tactical combat perk, or tactical armory perk, that you just, if you have enough gold, go over to a upgrade bench and upgrade this thing to gold, because it is 100% worth it. Now, that is not the only weapon we have on this list today. The next weapon I'm actually going to show involves actually a pistol. Now, if you guys don't know this season, there have been a few perks that have actually been added that can make a pistol so much better. And these include light fingers, which I talk about for the last weapon, and another perk called pistol amp, which allows you to have an increased magazine for your pistol. And this works with any pistol. So, however, the only thing is that there's also a perk called Bloodhound. And if you know what Bloodhound does, it basically gives you the ability for your marksman and your bows, your marksman rifles and your bows, to get a red marker on the player if you hit them with a shot. Meaning, I can mark an enemy, same way like a flare gun or any other gun like that, if you guys know what I'm talking about, and I can essentially shoot it and mark the player. However, there is not anything like that with the pistol. Until, of course, right now. Which is actually the second weapon that I want to talk about is the super OP Shadow Tracker. Now, if you guys don't know, Shadow Tracker was actually an exotic in Chapter 2 and 3. And it, of course, did not leave us and is actually on the Chapter 4 map. If you head to the location I'm heading to, which is a little bit below, I think, what's the Shattered Slabs. There you go. I remember the name. It's a little bit below Shattered Slabs. You see I'm trying to take out this guy here. I want to make sure that my area is cleared. You could actually see that there's an NPC in the house. And if we skip a little bit further, when I realize that I'm safe and I'm able to just gather everything I need, I even get light fingers, which helps me so much. Because I'm telling you, light fingers with this gun makes a lot of a difference. But if we skip a little bit further, we can see that I now have access to the Shadow Tracker. Now, you can get this from talking to Evie, who actually spawns at this house, like I said, below Shattered Slabs. And you can talk to her, and you can get a Shadow Tracker pistol. Now, you might be wondering, why is this so important? Well, the Shadow Tracker has the ability to mark players if you hit them. Now, it is like an OG pistol, so you're not going to have that hold fire with the tactical pistol has. However, if you have a quick trigger finger, this is going to be an insane weapon for you. So, not only can this thing mark enemies if you hit it, you can also increase its magazine with pistol amp, which I actually get right here, meaning you can increase its magazine, and with light fingers you can reload it even faster. And as you see here, I'm actually going to use this pistol to absolutely obliterate someone. He is going to make an attempt to run with his hammer, which he does about right now. However, since I got a hit on him, I always know his location. On top of that, I also have my Shadow Tracker, which I am basically just tap firing right now. And since I have that increased magazine, with 24 shots, I can basically continue to fire without a problem. See, he's now trying to box up. I'm going to try to break into his wall. See, he tries to run away again. However, I managed to get, I think, one shot off. No, it's with the red eye here. So, I think I rush him. Yeah, I do. Okay. So, I go up towards this guy. Try to make sure that I'm not directly on him. Land on him. I'm able to just eliminate him very easily. So, that is definitely a reason why you should pick up this Shadow Tracker. Now, is it better than a tactical pistol? Yes and no. The Shadow Tracker's ability to mark things, definitely worth it. Sure, the tactical pistol may be able to hold fire, but if you have a quick trigger finger along with light fingers and pistol amp, you can make this thing an overpowered weapon. And this is why it is a very OP pistol. Now, for the next weapon, we're going to actually talk about a bow, surprisingly. Or not a bow. We're actually going to talk about a shotgun. The bow comes next, don't worry. But recently, in this update, the heavy shotgun has been added. And it's not the old heavy shotgun. Most people will know the old heavy shotgun. It was a pretty good shotgun. But now they have changed it, or it's been changed for quite some time now. And it is actually a one-slug shotgun, meaning there's only one bullet. Now, the crosshair helps. However, since it's only one bullet, it's very difficult to hit shots. However, if you are able to hit your shots with this gun, you are doing a guaranteed 70 or 80 damage depending on what rarity you have. Now, you might be wondering, well, this is amazing. So basically, it's a sniper shotgun, which, by the way, overranks the combat's range by a large amount. Like, we're talking this thing can be 100 meters away, and you might be even tagging the enemy for 20 damage, which is insane because it's a shotgun. But you might be wondering, how is this overpowered? Well, I'm going to tell you. Because I call this the rushing ranged shotgun. Yeah, I just made up the name on the spot. We're not going to forget that I ever said that. But basically, there is a perk called rushing reload, and that allows you to reload your shotgun while you are actually sprinting, meaning you can tack sprint up to an enemy and have your gun reloaded at all times, and you're actually going to see me do that in this fight. Okay, so I found the fight. As you can see, I'm running around, and I end up seeing this player who shoots me in the back. Now, I pick my Bloodhound perk, whatever, but this guy's really far away. You guys can see this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heavy shotgun, which, by the way, the crosshair is very tiny when you scope, but it makes sense. So I'm gonna use the shotgun 75. That's a guaranteed 75 damage. Now I'm gonna start sprinting around this player. My shotgun's reloaded due to the rushing reload, and I'm basically just sprinting around this player, shooting him with my heavy. Now, I do eventually hammer up, and I don't know if I live or die here. I think I end up dying to an Excalibur rifle. But I actually do have another clip where I'm playing with Wolf here, as you can see. And we're fighting this person right here. Now, we are in build, and I shoot this guy with the heavy, 50. I missed my shots. However, I'm able to tack sprint. You see that tack sprint coming in real handy. I reload my shotgun, and I'm able to have enough ammo in order to kill this guy. I'm not going to show much of it because nothing much happens after this. But that is why this shotgun can really come in handy. Especially just in situations like that where you tag the enemy for a lot and you can really just get in closer or fall back while dealing 70 damage at the same time. So that's why it's number 3. And the next weapon we're going to talk about is actually a bow. Now you might be wondering, why a bow? Well, there's a reason that I chose this bow. And it actually has to do with the Bloodhound perk. By the way, this bow is basically called the explosive marking bow. That's pretty much what I called it, because I can't think of another name for it. So we're going to just end it there. But this bow and arrow is, you guys may have seen it in Chapter 2, Season 6, which honestly, let's be real, that season was not the best, let's be real. But the bows in it were actually not too terrible. I mean, you got the shockwave bow, you had the grappler bow, and you had explosive bow and all the primal bows, which, by the way, Wolf is a huge fan of the bows. He actually does like them a lot, and he uses the primal flame bow a lot, and it has helped us win a lot of different situations. So if you are accurate with the bows, it does really help. But if you're not accurate at the bows, there might be a reason for you to pick one up. This right here is the explosive bow. Now, it's not the boom bow, if you guys know what that is, from Chapter 1, Season 7, or like 8, when the boom bow was traditionally released. Basically, it was a bow that if you shot in the area of someone, it would deal 100 damage. That bow is insane. However, this is an explosive bow, where if you shoot the bow, you can tag someone for about 70 damage if you hit them directly, while also dealing 20 damage due to 3 explosive charges that it has on the tip of the arrow. Now, you might be wondering, why would this bow be any special? Well, simply because of the perk that I was talking about before, Bloodhound. Bloodhound, like I said before, gives you the ability for your marksman rifles and your bows to mark enemies if you hit them. Now, normally with a bow, it's pretty hard to do that. However, if you use an explosive bow and you miss, you have 3 charges on the bow. Now, these charges will separate and will do 20 damage if it tags someone. However, what people don't know is that if you hit the charge the explosive charges, or even at least one. And that doesn't have to be all three, it just needs to be one. If you hit one, it will still mark the enemy, meaning you can get a shot off, and even though you missed, you might just be able to see the enemy's location. And I'm actually going to show you this right here. As you can see, the charges are working, they are exploding, and they are doing damage. Now, as you can see, using the charges, tag that guy 20, he did die instantly, but if you guys noticed, he had a mark above his head, meaning the charge actually marked him after his death. Now, me and Zero, aka Wolf, we finish this guy and the fight's over. But as you just saw there, for a split second, you were able to see that my shotgun, or not my shotgun, my explosive charge on the bow actually did a decent amount of damage. 20 damage, not terrible considering the fact that you missed a bow shot. But it also marks him. And although he does die in this moment, had he not died, I would have seen his exact location even if he had tried to run. That's why this bow, of course, is one of the better weapons. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend picking it up by yourself if you don't have the best accuracy. However, if you have a Bloodhound perk, you might as well do so because it is definitely worth it. Now we're actually on to the second to last weapon, which is very ironic because it isn't actually a weapon. The secret item that we're talking about is actually the Super Impulse, is what I call it at least. You might know that the Shockwave Hammer is in the game, but along with it are also Impulse Grenades. Now, why would you ever pick up an Impulse Grenade where you can just easily grab a Shockwave Hammer and bounce around infinitely? Well, I actually do have a reason for doing this. Now, as you guys have known, there is a perk in the game called Soaring Sprints. Now, if you don't know what that is, Soaring Sprints basically allows you to tack sprint and have low grab effect while you're jumping in the tack sprint. Meaning, I can tactical sprint and have a low effect while I'm jumping in that state. So, I believe you can use this with the Shockwave Hammer, and it does work pretty well. However, the thing is that for you to do it with the Shockwave Hammer, it takes a lot more effort than a Super Impulse. So, what do I mean by that? Well, the Super Impulse basically requires you to have impulses and the Soaring Sprints effect. Now, normally, an Impulse would not be the best. It's good for definitely killing players to fall damage and stuff like that. However, it's definitely not as good as a Shockwave or even a Shockwave Hammer. However, as you see here, so look at this. Basically, right after I throw the Impulse Grenade on the ground, I tactical sprint. Here I didn't do it because I messed it up. I didn't have stamina. But I wait here. As I throw the Impulse, I tactical sprint, jump, and look at that distance. Now, of course, that may seem like nothing, but if we go into a clip here, we can actually see why it's worth it. Because the fact that normally a Shockwave Hammer or an Impulse, if you were to have a low grab effect with a Shockwave Hammer or an Impulse Grenade, you'd go more high than distance-wise. And although that's amazing, you kind of want distance. Like, look at this right here. I am far away from this fight, which is pretty much on the other side of Brutal Bastion. I want to get there. Well, first I locate the target, which I didn't do for a bit. But in order for me to get to this location quickly, I want to have that distance. And the Shockwave Hammer, yes, is better. It's better in many ways for the distance-wise, considering the fact that you can do it 4 times in a row. However, the Super Impulse Grenade with this Soaring Sprints basically can be a close second. Like, you see that guy right there. To get to him, look at this. I get distance and height with this, and I'm able to just perfectly land in the box. I almost died here, but fortunately I was able to get enough damage on him with the combat. And there it was. So, yes. Is it better than the Shockwave Hammer? Absolutely not. But is it definitely an alternative option? Considering the fact that you can pick up pretty much 9 of these Impulse Grenades, I'd say it is. So, obviously, still probably picking up a hammer, but definitely something that's been slept on in this chapter, and I actually do use it, especially when I just have the perk conveniently and I just want to get around quicker. Now, the last weapon on this list. This weapon is probably one of, if not the strongest weapon in this chapter. And you might be thinking, well, what is it? Or what perk does it involve? Well, I'm going to tell you guys. The strongest weapon, or technically perk, the strongest perk to be added this chapter is party time. I'm kidding. It's not. It's never going to be party time, by the way. Okay? I will be doing a perk video very soon, but it will never be party time. Just note that, okay? Party time is very, very fun, but very, very bad. Okay? In very, very many different situations. But the actual weapon is a tree. Now you might be wondering, why is that even considered on this list? Well, it's simple. Because the tree can actually be combined with the shockwave hammer in order to make a catapult. Now, you know that, I believe most of you know that in Chapter 3, they introduced these trees where you can break them and they'd auto-lock onto players and fall on someone's head and they do a lot of damage. I mean, it's insane how much damage they do. But one thing that people have noticed is that there's actually these trees in this chapter as well. And they're a little bit less noticeable, but they're definitely still very shown. And when you find one of these trees, it might be beneficial to use this combination. And of course, the second thing with this combination involves a shockwave hammer. So that's another reason why it's so good, because you're always going to have a shockwave hammer on you. Okay? You're not going to not pick up the shockwave hammer. So, yeah. Definitely an amazing combination, because you're always going to have it. Well, most of the time. Depends who you are. But, most people will probably always have a shockwave hammer. So, let's just say you find a tree. In this clip, as you can see, I am running around, and I find this tree. Okay? Find this tree here. I find this tree on the ground, and I'm staying near this tree. Because there is a duo right below this hill, okay? And I just want to stay there. Now, there are people there, but I ignore them because I'm more concerned with these duo here. Because they're going to have to push towards me when the zone closes. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is probably going to be so hard to kill this duo. But, no, it is not. For we have what is known as the triapult. These two people come in, I see them, and guess what? Okay, the first one was a miss, but when I get it the second time, 150 damage. 150 damage, and it just obliterated all the builds. Now, you might be wondering, how did it just do that? Well, simply because of this fact. The tree auto-locks onto players. It's not as strong as it was in Chapter 3, but it is definitely still there. And if you combine this with the shockwave of a hammer, this thing goes flying like you just saw here. It goes flying, and since the trees are known for breaking all of the builds in the area, it just obliterates anything in its path, including metal, meaning that you can just send a tree straight into someone's face and they can't do anything. This makes this weapon right here such an overpowered one. And the best part is that it's not even hard to do. You go to a tree, you have a shockwave hammer, okay, and if someone's near you, you break the tree, shockwave it into their face. So it's very, very, very good, considering the fact that it's just simply just a tree and a hammer. So this is why this one is probably one of the best weapons on this list. And with that being said, this has been 6 secret weapons that have been in Chapter 4. Let me know if you guys have found any more weapons. These are the ones that I've seen and very well noticed. But just let me know if you guys have found any more secret weapons like this, and I might do another one of these. We're definitely doing a perks video though, because there's such amazing weapons that you can, such amazing weapon combinations with the perks, so we're definitely going to be doing that. New Guardian Shield actually just got added, and that video is coming on the way very soon actually. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to have an Avengers video, planning that. I just don't know when it's going to happen. It will happen, believe me. And, okay. And the Gwen Stacy video with the Spider-Man as well. Didn't happen last season. I'm sorry about that. Okay. But since the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer released, I have been wanting to do that even more. So if that does not get done, I will cry. So trust me, I will get to them, but it will take some time. So that being said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Tell me if this was helpful down below. I mean, in the comments, if, you know, maybe it wasn't. Maybe some of you already knew about half of these weapons. To be honest, they're not that really secretive. They're just very hard to notice if you're going with a certain loadout and perk set every game. But hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next one.